I'd be happy to have Boris in my shadow cabinet, says Robert Jenrick. Yes, leadership hopeful Robert Jenrick has said that he would be delighted to have Boris Johnson back into his shadow cabinet if he wins the Tory leadership contest. Pleased to welcome the former Prime Minister who stepped down as an MP, we know, in June 2023 and has spent a lot of his time ever since making quite a lot of money on the public speaking circuit. Nina, is it time? Is it time for Boris to come back into our lives?
God, how awful, what a dreadful thought. I mean, it shows how anxious Robert Jenrick is to be Tory leader. He's lost all this weight.
Good for him.
Fighting fit. Well, he could have lost it before. And now he knows there's a groundswell of the public that will always yearn for Boris. You know,
why? Why do you think that is?
Because he makes me laugh.
Is that the...
Yeah, the charisma of Boris. Boris is a hugely charismatic figure. He is a wonderful orator. He's very funny. And people saw him as a breath of fresh air and, oh, he's one of us, really, when he wasn't. He's a posh toff, you know. And completely narcissistic and not for the people, and yet the people loved him. So Robert Jenrick, in sort of mentioning Boris Johnson, is trying to bring those people in. Fortunately, Boris is making an enormous amount of money from his speaking career and also from his book. His book comes out, I think, in the autumn. It's called Unleashed. And he'll be making far too much money to waste it getting back into the shadow cabinet.
Doesn't politics need big characters who make people care about the message, who can communicate that message really well? You might argue with what the message is in the first place, but that ability to cut through and actually tell people what's happening in the country and what they plan to do, that's the power of personality, isn't it?
I agree with that, but it's got to be grounded in some kind of personal morals, in some kind of caring, some kind of attitude for humanity, some empathy for what you're doing
I think
and why you're
Boris
doing it.
has all of those things. But look, my issue with this, and I'll start off by saying that Robert is actually a friend of mine, is that, yes, we've got to have charismatic leaders, but we've got to have charismatic leaders that are actually good at the job of leading the country and being the Prime Minister. That is something Boris was very bad at. He was very good at winning elections. He was very bad at the bit in between. All of the things that a lot of people in the Conservative Party dislike at the moment, high taxes, high immigration, this kind of sleaze that went on, this impropriety that I think Nina is getting onto in what she is saying, that was all caused by Boris Johnson. He was the author of the thumping election defeat that we had earlier on this year. So the idea that we should bring the man that caused this loss back into the fold, I think would be a very bad idea indeed.
I mean, let's imagine he did make it back into the cabinet. Which role could he occupy? Because as Foreign Secretary...
Well, he was Foreign Secretary, you know, sort of bumbling around the world.
Yeah, the Zaghari-Ratcliffe affair, of course, that
awful.
Was... yeah, I think a lot of people would say dealt with pretty dreadful. You know, is there a policy role in there for him at all, do you think?
I think the only role he could fulfil would be party leader. I can't see him doing any other role.
You know,
I can't see him doing any other role in cabinet.
Basically, apart from anything else.
I mean, of course, he's been, as we say, a member of the cabinet before and ended up as party leader each time. Bringing somebody like that onto the team, isn't it inevitable that their personality outweighs whoever is the elected leader?
He is just not. He is not cut out to be that sort of leader. He's not a team player. He's not. You know. And besides which, you do. If you go into politics, you do have to have a certain standard of morality, which it is completely lacking. And by the way, Robert Jenrick was one of the ones who called for him to resign. So not like Robert Jenrick was standing on the sidelines saying, "Oh, Boris, you're fabulous," and don't listen to all the criticism. He called for him to resign.
There is a little bit of a fight going on, isn't it, between Tory leadership hopefuls at the moment. We see Mel Stride coming out saying a lot. I think we have to look at whatever they say at the moment in the context of people who are looking for column inches and looking to get their name ahead, possibly,
yes,
as prominent as possible.
Because the first rule of politics is to have your name recognised. That's what they say in America. If they recognise your name, they might vote for you.
Also, let's remember who Robert Jenrick and all the leadership contenders are trying to appeal to at the moment. They're trying to appeal to Conservative MPs, a lot of whom still like Boris, and Conservative Party members, a lot of whom still like Boris. These are the people who are going to decide who the next Tory leader is. It's not necessarily to appeal to you, Nina,
No, I
or to you,
understand that.
Matt, or even necessarily to all the viewers at home. It is just to appeal to the Conservative Party members who will actually make the choice of who the next leader is going to be. And within that group of people, Boris is still hugely popular.
And they're quite different groups, aren't they?
They
The
are.
Tory MPs who put those candidates forward are quite different to the members who eventually elect them, who choose them.
Absolutely. The trouble is that the MPs see these people up close, and you know they see the colour of their eyes and how they panic, how they cheat, how they lie, how they whatever. And the membership, the actual membership, are actually probably far more extreme than the MPs.
I don't know about that.
I think
I think that's a bit
yeah.
overplayed. I know a lot of Tory party members. I've never experienced this extremism that lots of people talk about. I think
well,
in
it's there
terms of
somewhere. If you're a Tory extremist and you're not a member, then that's so very strange. I mean, it goes together. I'm not saying they're all extremists, but that's where you'll find a lot of them. I mean, that's how we ended up with Liz Truss, for God's sake.